Warning: this video contains topics of suicide, rape, sexual assault, and school shootings. Viewer discretion is advised. What's going on, guys? The number 13 here. Season 4 of 13 Reasons Why is one of the worst shows I've ever seen. I still can't get over how this series went from a cautionary tale about how our actions can really affect people to this. A lot of the videos made about this show are pretty critical of it, but that's not what this video's about. I don't know how many people actually watched this show to the end, and there's just so much crazy stuff that happens in this final season that I think more people need to know about. And that's why I've put together 13 Reasons Why Season 4 is insane. The fact that this show made it past its first season is the most insane thing on this list. 13 Reasons Why originally started as a novel, and is what showrunner Brian Yorkey based Season 1 off of. But there's just the one book, so what did they do for the rest of the show? In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Brian talked about the thought process behind continuing the show past Season 1. Over the course of making the first season, we fell in love with these characters, and wanted to know what happened next. And at that time, I wouldn't say there was a plan, but you begin to think, it would be interesting to follow these kids. You don't really notice it in Season 2, but it becomes extremely clear in Seasons 3 and 4 that they had no idea what they were doing. Season 2 works because it's just a direct follow-up to the book. I don't think it works as well as Season 1, but it's alright. But with Season 3, it feels like a completely different show. This is Bryce Walker. He was the inciting incident of what eventually led Hannah to kill herself, a serial rapist, and the head of a rape cult on campus. Season 3 is a murder mystery of who killed Bryce, and it spends most of its runtime trying to redeem him and show that he was misunderstood. Oh, he threatened to kill a child with a knife? Well, he doesn't have a good relationship with his dad.
I'm trying to be better. This fucking world won't let me. Nobody believes I can change.
But then in the finale, he just goes back to his old ways and talks about how he's gonna ruin someone's life again.
Fucking shit! I'm gonna fuck up his other day and wreck his fucking life! You're not gonna do anything to Zach. I'm gonna fucking destroy him.
When I was watching this season, I remember thinking, have the writers actually seen the show? And the answer to that is unknown. On the show's fan wiki, they have a section that lists all the writers for all 4 seasons. For Seasons 1 and 2, they had the exact same team. But for Season 3, they brought in a lot of new people and got rid of a lot of the old ones. So my theory for why Season 3, and by extension Season 4, feels so different from the rest of the show is that Brian still didn't have a plan.
There will come a time after the Season 2 is launched that we will say, okay, how do we feel? Is there more story to tell? Do we want to know what happens next? And I think at that moment we'll know. I think the characters in the story will tell us either, yeah, this is a place of closure, or no, we're not done yet.
So for Season 3, he brings in all these fresh new faces that have a bunch of ideas, and he says yes to all of them. That's how we get things like a brand new character who everyone immediately loves and is now the main character, the whole Bryce redemption arc, and the main cast rehabilitating a school shooter. In the same Entertainment Weekly article as before, Brian said, "Our North Star has always been that the inciting incident of the whole series is Hannah's death and the tape she leaves behind. And so we want to follow that to its logical conclusion, and I think and hope that's what we do in Season 4. Okay, Brian, let's take a look at this logical conclusion by starting with... Drew like a dark, fucked up version of Clay. Just a glimpse into my mind would make you go insane. After taking the back seat last season so that the writer's self-insert could take the stage, Clay is back in Season 4 as the Joker. But he's not, like, fully insane. He's more like a baby Joker.
I'm the Joker, baby!
Clay's whole shtick this season is that all of his previous actions have finally caught up to him, and now he's having hallucinations and panic attacks over them. Which, I'll admit, I thought was pretty interesting. But the things the writers have Clay do this season makes this go from being cool to dumb really fast. Some of the stuff he gets up to this season include shitting his pants to escape a mental hospital, crashing a car and then having no injuries, writing "I covered up a murder" on his college essay and then submitting it, and then getting mad when Ani rewrote it and saved him.
When are you gonna stop? You know, when are you gonna stop trying to run people's lives?
Walking into a police station, saying
I have a gun, and I'll fucking use this thing if I have to, so everybody back the fuck up!
And then having nothing happen to him. Smoking weed, telling his adopted brother that he's adopted.
My mom and dad, they're not your fucking parents, so stop pretending they are.
Having sex with the daughter of the cop that arrested him, and then beating up her boyfriend. But the craziest things Clay does this season, he doesn't even remember doing, because it was actually done by his evil alter ego. At the end of episode 8, it's revealed that a lot of the unexplained things that have happened were actually done by Clay. The spray paint at the front of the school, Clay. The broken security cameras, Clay. The ghost of Burnham Woods, Clay. And on top of all that, he also sees ghosts aren't anything new to this show. Hannah came back as one in season 2 to be Clay's sidekick and help him figure out all the mysteries in town. I read this as being Clay's way of coming to terms with Hannah's death, because at her funeral, he sees her one last time as she walks into the light. In season 4, Ghost Bryce appears in the woods and has bugs crawl out of his mouth. Clay sees the most ghosts this season because he's just so crazy! Oh my god, you can't take him anywhere! He's haunted by Ghost Bryce and Ghost Monty. Ghost Monty is there to be a little gremlin and cause chaos wherever he shows up. My favorite moment of his is when Clay sees him in the lunchroom, and he goes, "Ooh, I have a sister, ooh." And this pisses Clay off so bad that he goes and starts fighting the football team. And also, a police officer gets flipped over. And then Ghost Bryce is there to tempt Clay to the dark side.
She's all yours, Jensen. Don't let me stop you.
And to be evil, ooh. In the finale, he also sees Hannah, but she's just reused footage from season 1. There's no way this actress was coming back. Justin's there too, but I'm gonna get to him later. Also in the finale, the writers speak through Clay to say he doesn't actually see ghosts.
I just imagine people and what I would say to them.
I get it. You wrote my paper on magical realism.
I don't believe you. If you're concerned with keeping things realistic, then why do they see ghosts too? For Jessica, Bryce is there to be the boogeyman, and to be like an annoying little brother who keeps bugging her. In one of the final scenes of the series, Jessica goes to Bryce and thanks him.
In what kind of world do I love all these kinds of people? The world you made.
What? Why would you have the victim thank their abuser for abusing them, Brian? Ghost Bryce is pleased with this, and he finally leaves, going back to where he belongs. Hell, Alex and Winston also see ghosts, but not as much as the other two. When Alex somehow throws himself off a boat, Ghost Bryce is in the water waiting for him, and tries dragging him down before Zach saves him. Winston's moment with Ghost Monty is really weird. Not just because he's dancing with someone no one else can see, but because Monty has this weird filter over his voice.
I never could have done this. Dance with you.
None of the other ghosts sound like this, so why is this Monty different? Is this like his actual spirit? The ghosts are dumb, but they're a fun dumb, so I'll give him a pass. At the end of season 3, it's revealed that Alex was the one who killed Bryce. But he's a main character! He can't face consequences for his actions! So Ani goes to the police, specifically Alex's cop dad, and convinces him to pin it all on Monty, because
they cause great pain to a number of people, and it is time for that suffering to end.
So Monty gets arrested, but not because of Bryce. He's brought in on sexual assault charges, because at the end of season 2, he violated Tyler with a broom. God, this show is awful. And while he's in prison, the other inmates find out what Monty did and kill him. This is where one of the main villains of season 4 comes in, Winston, who knows that Monty didn't kill Bryce because they were together at the time of his murder. Oh yeah, Monty's gay, by the way. In season 3, Monty and Bryce go to this house party, where Monty meets discount Timothée Chalamet. They wrestle around for a little bit, and then later, Winston goes to Monty and tells him,
"We should hang out sometime."
Then Monty hate crimes him, and the rest is history. So Winston has this master plan, where he infiltrates the school and becomes friends with the main cast in order to get justice for Monty and clear his name. But does Winston know that Monty did what he got arrested for? Even if Monty was still alive, and Winston convinced the cops that he didn't kill Bryce, he still sexually assaulted someone. Anyways, everyone finds out what Winston's there for and stops being friends with him. And this flips a switch in Winston, because he goes from a pretty normal guy to full-on anime villain.
It's great to finally be a part of the Liberty community. To see how folks really are. I didn't know before, so that's really great.
He spends the rest of the season slowly figuring things out and comes to the conclusion that Jess was the one who killed Bryce. So he goes to Ani at prom and tells her, "Na boo boo, I'm gonna tell on you." And Ani goes, "Yeah, well, I don't care. I love my friends." And then Winston goes and dances with his ghost boyfriend. So later, Alex and Winston meet up, and Alex tells him,
It was me. I killed Bryce Walker.
and then just leaves. So now Winston has everything he needs to clear Monty's name, but instead of going to the police, he tells Alex, "Yeah, I don't care anymore," and drops it. What a threat he was! Diego's the other villain this season, and he also wants to get justice for Monty, because he told him, "Dominicans can play football too." I think Diego was the better antagonist because, unlike Winston, who just keeps monologuing to people, Diego actually got shit done. In episode 3, he spends the entire time terrorizing Clay by being Jigsaw and makes him hallucinate a bunch of crazy stuff. This eventually ends with Clay crying over a dummy that he thought was Monty's body, and it's revealed that the entire football team was in on this, and now they know that something's up. But that's where Diego peaks, because he spends the rest of the season in a pointless love triangle with Jessica and Justin. But the villains aren't the only characters that were underbaked this season, so let's look at some of the other victims of this show's writing team. I'm gonna say this now, so I don't have to keep repeating myself. I don't like how the characters this season are treated. Not that they were well written in the other seasons, but by this point, they've basically become caricatures of themselves. So I'm gonna rapid fire through some of the main cast and talk about their stories this season. Ani became the new main character in season 3, but because everyone hated her, she's basically reduced to nothing this season. She moves in with Jessica, breaks up with Clay, and then is gone for like half the season because her mom was sick. And then once she's back, she still doesn't do anything, except for this.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like, hey.
Alex. He just can't keep his mouth to himself. After killing Bryce last season, Alex is sad and thinks he doesn't deserve anything good in life. This gets resolved by him getting in a relationship with Charlie, who's just kind of there. But it doesn't even seem like he likes Charlie that much. He keeps yelling at him to leave him alone.
I'm extremely fucked up. If you weren't an idiot, you'd stay away.
At least he has camp cookies.
Fucking yes.
Alex's dad. I think Alex's dad is severely underappreciated because he is keeping so many people out of jail.
You kids just keep doing what you're doing.
Murdering people? He covered up Alex killing Bryce. He made Tyler an informant when his guns got traced back to him. And when Sheriff Diaz decides to reopen the Bryce case and knows that Alex did it, the two of them talk about family.
Family comes first. When you agree? I do.
And the case gets closed. If you ever need a ride or die, make sure you get someone like Alex's dad. Jessica. The most annoying character in the show. Jessica's become this strong, independent woman who uses her newfound confidence and power to be an extremely manipulative and selfish person. She's involved in a love triangle with Justin and Diego, who she keeps emotionally manipulating to get whatever she wants. Diego accuses her of cheating on him with Justin. Yeah, well, his mom died. Justin accuses her of cheating on him with Diego. I can do whatever I want. She's also the student body president, who for some reason is treated like the actual president. She's in charge of how the jocks should act and what the school security should be like, which is not how that job works. My student body president was in charge of SGA meetings. Why is Jessica in charge of the entire school? Zach. After Bryce broke his legs last season and ruined his chances of playing football, Zach doesn't know what to do anymore. Aww. He's become this sudden badass who doesn't care about anything anymore. He has this whole inner conflict thing going on, but that doesn't really get elaborated on. It's brought up for the first time in the series finale, and then gets fixed by the end, because all of a sudden he's gonna be a coach for the football team, and he's going to school for music. Should've stayed on Riverdale. Tyler. The whole reason Tyler's here is to make you think he's gonna shoot up the school again. He keeps not responding to texts and disappearing for a while, and is even seen with the cops, which makes Clay and Tony think that he's gone crazy. But it turns out, he was actually just an informant for the police. When Tony and Clay find this out, Tyler gets mad at them for not trusting him when the cops did. But can you blame them? The most egregious evidence against him is during the emergency drill, when Tyler disappears yet again, and they find pictures of guns in his backpack. What else could that possibly mean? Unlike some of the other characters this season, Tony's got a little bit more going on. He's suddenly a boxer now, and he's fighting people double his height. He fights two people, one of which is a
Nazi. He's got white power tattoos.
So?
He isn't even that good of a fighter. In both fights, he starts out getting absolutely destroyed. Then he gets back up, and suddenly he's untouchable, and then knocks out the other guy in one hit. A very interesting creative decision happened when Tony was fighting the most European guy ever. It's cut together with Clay having sex for the first time, and they keep cutting back and forth like it's the same thing. Once they're done and they're laying back on the bed, that's when they decide to cut back to Tony.
One.
His other thing this season is worrying about Tyler. Right after Clay escaped from the mental hospital, Tony goes to him and tells him that he thinks Tyler's about to be arrested. Clay tells him that he doesn't think he's in the right headspace for this, and Tony is surprised.
Clay, what does that mean? I don't understand what's happening.
You literally just saw him take a gun from the cops last episode. Even though Tony had kind of a weird arc this season, it is nowhere near as bad as what they did to Justin. Justin is hands down the best character in this show. He's the only one that has a consistent arc, and also isn't annoying. He started out as a main antagonist in Season 1, being the only person to have 2 tapes made about them. They show his home life to be pretty bad. His mom is a neglectful drug addict, and her boyfriend is abusive to the both of them. When a subpoena for Hannah's trial is mailed to him, Justin runs away and ends up being homeless for a while. While he was on the streets, Justin got addicted to heroin before Clay and Tony found him and sobered him up so that he could testify against Bryce. Justin goes through with this, but he gets arrested for being an accessory to sexual assault. After he gets out, Clay's parents offer to adopt him and help give him the life he deserves. It's easy to root for Justin because you want to see him succeed, and he is in Season 4. He's going to AA meetings, He gets into college. He's doing a lot better than he was in season 1. But then his mom dies, and he relapses. Flash forward to prom, and Justin says he's too sick to go. But later, the crowd of people parts like the Red Sea and reveals Justin to Jessica. Everyone's dancing and having a good time, and then Justin collapses. He's rushed to the hospital, and it's revealed that he has AIDS. In the first couple episodes of this season, they start with a funeral. It's not revealed whose funeral it is, but now it's clear that it was for Justin. For the first 50 minutes of the hour-and-a-half long finale, it shows Justin suddenly on his deathbed and having a million things wrong with him.
The pneumocystis pneumonia has an indolent presentation. There is also a neurological infection, a fungal meningitis that has not advanced quite so far.
Tuberculosis, Ebola, leprosy, malaria, anthrax, cholera.
This comes out of nowhere and feels like it was just done for the shock value. This whole season is about healing from your past and learning to live a better life. And Justin is the poster boy for that. From that Entertainment Weekly article again, Brian talked about how he wanted the series to end on a message of hope and survival. This show started with Hannah Baker not being able to do that, and we wanted to end by seeing so many of our characters able to do that, to face the real darkness, and to come out the other side into the light. Justin did all of that, Brian, but you killed him anyways! This gets a lot more insulting when you rewatch this season and notice all of the foreshadowing.
What are you trying to be?
Alive.
I thought that I was gonna die.
We're all gonna fucking die. I love you more than life.
They knew what they were doing. Fly high, Justin. At least now you can rest in peace. Why is he there?
Welcome to Season 3 of 13 Reasons Why.
Each season starts with a disclaimer about how the show tackles tough, real-world issues. When Season 1 first released, there was no disclaimer. It was only added in after a study proved that the show had led to an increase in teen suicides. I don't know how Netflix didn't see this coming when they included a very graphic depiction of Hannah committing suicide, which wasn't even in the book. The scene was later removed after lots of backlash, but that didn't stop the writers from glorifying even more sensitive topics. Over the course of the series, it tackles suicide, rape, sexual assault, drug abuse, school shootings, abortion, deportation, mental illness, racial profiling, and police brutality. Their excuse behind including all of this is that it's to start a
conversation.
Conversations.
But the more serious the conversation is, the more ridiculous these depictions are. For example, when they talked about abortion in Season 3, they did it through Bryce's ex-girlfriend Chloe. Zach took her to a clinic where an employee led them past a group of protesters. But it turns out the employee was actually a protester in disguise, and they give Chloe a little jelly bean to make her feel bad.
What is wrong with you?
I think it is important to be having these conversations, but this is not the right place for that. After the release of Season 1, Jay Asher spoke about why the book didn't cover mental health. I thought about addressing the issue of mental health, but it would have gone against what I was trying to say. It was a conscious thing not to mention it, because my book is more about how we treat each other. And it's clear that these topics aren't talked about to raise awareness or start a conversation. They're done for drama and shock value. Because if this show actually cared about these issues, they wouldn't have had Justin get AIDS and then die from it, all in the series finale. Episode 6 is called Thursday, and I think it is the worst episode in the entire series. The school goes into a code red lockdown, which is for active shooter. It then shows everyone fearing for their lives and calling their families in tears, which is then doubled down on by having Ghost Bryce talk in depth about a classroom being shot up. This is all just in such bad taste. And they can't use the excuse that it's to start a conversation, because they already started this conversation. At the end of Season 2, Tyler was planning on shooting up a school dance. But thank God Clay was there, because who else would have stood at the end of a loaded gun? What a great message to send. The whole point of this shooting is to make you think that Tyler's behind it. But it's shown pretty quickly that he isn't a suspect, so who's the shooter? The school. After Clay gets shot by himself, the principal pulls him into his office and tells him that this was all a drill. The gunshots? They were just blanks. The pounding on the doors? It was the cops. This drill is only here to make the principal and the dean of security out to be the most evil people imaginable. Once the drill's done, Clay sees the principal thanking the cops, which pisses him off, and he starts yelling at them about how children shouldn't have to fear for their lives. But then he gets a little too excited and takes a cop's gun.
I've got your gun!
He sees Tyler dressed like a banana, and then gets tackled to the ground. They take him away to the mental hospital for him to shit himself at later, and then the credits roll. One last spit in the face from this god-awful episode. This just proves my point that this show doesn't care about accurately portraying these very real issues. To them, it's all about checking off a list of sensitive topics that they can turn into drama. This episode is a horrible and offensive mess that I can't believe anyone ever agreed to air. Let's switch gears from being all serious and talk about the riot. After so many bad things have happened at this school, the principal finally decided to do something about it by amping up security. They installed metal detectors, security cameras, and hired a bunch of resource officers. Jessica's especially upset because she was the one who said that security should be improved. This all comes to a head in episode 8 where Diego confronts Justin and thinks that Jessica is protecting him because he killed Bryce. They start fighting, but a cop comes in and breaks them up, and then racially profiles Diego.
Fucking Mexican kid starting a fight? Okay, I'm Dominican. What the fuck? Say shit like that.
Justin and Diego both fight back before the cop pulls a gun on them and takes Diego away. This happened in front of basically the entire school, and they're all pissed off about it. The Joker gives the principal a piece of his mind.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
And him and Jess lead a walkout. They get outside and give this Marvel tier dialogue.
Just to be clear, I don't actually have a plan. I'm kind of following your lead here.
What, me? I thought I was following you.
The way it's framed also feels like a Marvel movie. Zach and Alex run into each other and decide, let's go break shit. Jess does what all good student body presidents do and rallies a war cry. The principal and the dean of security come outside and they just kinda stare. Now it's time for another episode of the Zach and Alex Show!
Here I am in your life. Here you are in mine. Yes, we have a sweet life. Most of the time. You and me, we got the world to see. So come on down. It's you and me and you. We got the whole place to ourselves.
Zach very politely destroys the principal's office, but the police show up. And Zach tells Alex to go on without him as he picks up a bat and goes to fight the police. The riot police are called on a bunch of unarmed teenagers as the principal coldly walks away, just in case he wasn't cartoonishly evil enough. The police start approaching and they're doing their little ritual, and then Jess gives the signal. Can you imagine if all riots were this fun? But then the paper stops working, and everyone rushes in to start smacking the cops. Jess and Monty's sister both get grabbed, and now the students are losing. But Clay saves the day by giving an actual Joker speech. I'm not kidding. He even says the line.
We go to the school that they built for us. We live in the society that they made for us.
This hypes everyone up again, and they go back to throwing themselves at the police. Alex comes out and finds Charlie passed out on the ground. And then Clay blows up a car. See, this is why I love this season. There's just so much happening all at once that you can't help but laugh at it. And this isn't even the best of it. There's one other episode that has this level of silliness throughout the entire thing. And that episode is... Episode 4 is the senior camping trip, where the students see ghosts, have multiple near-death experiences, and get haunted by an evil spirit. Remember when this show was about Hannah Baker? This is where the show peaks, and I feel like I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't cover everything that happens in this one episode. As everyone's getting off the buses, Clay talks about
the legend of Burnham Woods. Some kids were partying in like ancient times, like the 80s, and one of them was drunk and fell into a ravine, cracked his head open. His friends left him for dead, but he wasn't dead, and now his spirit roams the woods with that axe, terrorizing teenagers and making them pay for their sins.
There's this big scavenger hunt going on, where everyone breaks off into teams. Justin and Clay are arguing about how much their lives suck, and then Justin disappears. Alex and Jess hear Clay calling out for him, but they don't care. Jess sticks her entire arm into a tree, but instead of finding a clue, she just comes out with a bunch of tiny little bugs. Then Alex projectile vomits on a tree, and then leaves Jess alone. Clay's mom and Alex's dad find the clues for the hunt in the trash.
Then what clues are they hunting?
Clay gets on top of a rock, still looking for Justin, and now there's a wolf. Clay uses his yogurt male aura and scares it off, but then he gets a bag thrown over his head and thrown down a ravine. Justin looks like he just transformed from being a wolf, and then does a jump attack on Charlie, who's just by himself. Clay has a dream that he wakes up in a hospital. No, wait, now he's in school. No, now he's watching himself talk with Ghost Monty. Tyler runs into Alex, tells him Winston's bad, and then leaves again. He runs into Zach, who's just hanging out in a boat, and they decide to take it out on the water. They're drinking and screaming, "Fuck it all!" But Alex gets a little too excited and throws himself off the boat.
Mamma mia! So long, Bowser!
Winston runs into Tyler, who tells him,
"Don't call me. Don't come by my house. We're done."
I like how the entire time they're talking, Tyler is really focused on taking pictures. Like, incredibly focused. These unnamed football boys are walking around, and then they hear voices from the trees.
Who is that?
Then this bloody varsity jacket falls down, and it's never explained whose that was. Justin and Charlie go to a cabin that they thought the football team would be at, but they're not. Diego and Beecher, this is Beecher by the way, say they don't know where Clay is, and that they only messed with the clues. Jess is walking around the woods, and then she hears Bryce.
Hey, Jess. Hey, Jess.
Then she trips so hard that she starts seeing Bryce.
Be careful running around in here.
He makes fun of her for a bit, and then has bugs crawl out of his face. The usual. Alex is back at his tent, and he's talking with his dad about his guilt over killing Bryce. He says he can't keep this secret anymore, and wants to turn himself in. But his dad tells him, think about your friends. Just be yourself. Aww. Now it's night, and everyone's still just at the cabin. Then they hear scraping against the walls from the ghost of Burnham Woods! Not really, it's just evil Clay. He's actually been behind all of the supernatural stuff this episode, which I guess means he climbed up the trees and was making spooky sounds to people.
Oh my gosh!
Shit the bed. More time passes and more banging starts happening, but it's just Zach, and the football guys leave so that the main characters can talk. Clay wakes up in the ravine and sees that he now has his phone, and there's a rope he can use to escape. Now Tony's at the cabin, and Zach tells everyone what's going on with Winston. They're all upset that Clay didn't tell them the truth, and they're freaking out about where he is. And then Alex's dad shows up and, I guess, doesn't care that Clay's missing. Everyone's back at camp when they suddenly hear a horn, and Clay walks up like the yogurt male he is and says,
I won.
He accuses Jess, Diego, and Winston of all messing with him, and here's Alex's dad still not caring about anything that's going on. Now everyone's gathered around the campfire, talking about their weekend experiences. Winston talks about people revealing their true selves and starts getting into anime mode, and Alex makes you think he's gonna own up to killing Bryce.
Or to confess. That I fucking hate camping.
And then he breaks the conch shell. Why'd you do that? And that was the senior camping trip. This is actually the lowest rated episode of the entire series on IMDb, which makes no sense to me. It's definitely bad, but worse than the school shooting episode? Well, whatever. I don't care what the critics have to say. They just don't understand Ghost Bryce with bugs like I do. Remember how I said the camping trip was where the show peaked? This part's pretty close behind. After ending the last episode with a cliffhanger making you think someone just got shot, this is how the next episode starts.
The year is 2161. Earth is an arid landfill, desolate, polluted.
So instead of hiring writers that can actually write, they spent all their budget on one explosion. Clay's the leader of a resistance group against a robot uprising, Bryce is a cyborg cowboy, and Ani looks like broccoli. As they're going over plans of attack, Tyler, as an injured soldier, is brought in, but Clay isn't able to save him, and then he wakes up. Let's be honest, this scene only exists because the writers thought it would be cool. And they were right! Have you seen how awesome Cyborg Bryce is?
Cyborg, for fuck's sake, get down.
I'm sorry. That's Zymorgs. When they said that Clay wrote fanfiction in Season 3, I thought that was really out of place. But now I know that the writers were building towards Cyberpunk 2013 all along.
I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game and you know how you travel.
Man, you're a casual.
Of course, a show this bad is also gonna have some pretty bad dialogue. It's no Riverdale.
I'm so over the toxic masculinity in this hallway right now.
Alright. But it's still pretty funny.
It smells like an ass wore shoes in here. Like ass shoes. On a dead animal.
And the dreams and anxiety and stuff makes me not strong. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. My whole life is challenges, setbacks, and failures. I was hard.
Wow. If I need to get more woke, I'll make sure to come to you next time.
I don't hate. I don't gaze. And I definitely don't hate women.
Bite your own dick off, bro.
Going back to school after a 2-week suspension was like coming back from war.
Dominicans don't play football.
That's a fucking rock star rip, man. No, that's a hip-hop rip.
My life is
Fucked forever, so... We live in this society...
If we cancel prom, the messed upness wins.
And that's it. That was Season 4 of 13 Reasons Why. You know, while I was working on this video, I finally realized something. This season sucks! Over the past 4 years, I had only remembered this season for the smiling Clays, and the ghosts, and the rockstar rips. But once you know where the good parts are, the rest is just awful to watch. The first and last couple episodes were the worst, because there's just nothing going on. Episode 9 spends 30 minutes having all of the main characters talk to their parents and tell them that they really want prom, and it's just so boring. This show can only really be experienced blind. So if you hadn't seen it all before watching this, sorry. But regardless, this season is always going to have a special place in my heart. I'll always remember watching this show with my friend Gustavo, and just being blown away by how stupid it all was. And I'll keep having to explain to people why this is on my Spotify. I guess that's all I have to say. Goodbye, Clay Jensen. Goodbye, Hannah Baker. And goodbye, 13 Reasons Why.